As we are celebrating the May Day tomorrow, so you see that all we are doing from now is to see how we can analyze issues concerning labor unionism in Nigeria. But very recently, we've seen allegations whereby, it seems that politics are trying to meddle with the issues of labor unionism in Nigeria. I mean, I know that when we talk about labor unionism in Nigeria, they are not politicians. It is not a political party and all that. But we've seen recently whereby politics, interested in labor movements and all that. So we're going to be looking at how we can bridge the gap in the next couple of minutes. And join us via Zoom this morning. We have Derek Uhwango. Mr. Derek Uhwango, nice to have you on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you're welcome to the program one more time. Now, we just watched Comrade Odion Olaye, the chairman of NSC in Edo State, trying to explain what is going on in the NSC in Edo State. So away from that in the first instance, let us take it off from Rivers State, whereby we saw a reaction, going by the fact that there is a sole administrator in the state. So labor unionists in Rivers, are trying to say that the government of the day cannot really interfere. At a certain stage, a directive was given that the normal Labor Day celebration that is observed in a certain place, whereby all affiliate bodies come together to celebrate, that should not be. So you help us take it from there. The idea of political tendencies, politics meddling with labor unionism in Nigeria. Where do we go from that?
Uh, well, labor unionism and politics, it will be erroneous to believe that they are supposed to work independence of each other. Labor union or a smart labor union framework is that which leverages on politics or political influence to drive home the aims, objective of the labor union, which is basically job security, welfare, and wage stability of its members. If we are saying that labor unionism should be averse to politics or political discourse, we are actually encouraging them to continuously shoot themselves on the foot all over the world. Labor unions actually go as far as not just involving in politics, but championing a cause for their own political party. And we have a semblance of such here in Nigeria, which is the Labour Party. But having said that, the labor union body of Nigeria can do well when they leverage on politics by influencing the decision-making process. If they are fully involved in politics, that means they will be able to effectively engage with the government of the day, as it were, to drive home their point, which is to improve the welfare of their members. They can also use that leverage to go further in building a very strong framework that will encourage or influence labor law reforms to avoid the kind of scenario that we see today in some parts of Nigeria. If there's a very strong legal or law reforms in the labor union framework of our society, the issue of factionalism will be a thing of the past. And if they leverage effectively in with politics by influencing those who are in the corridors of power to easily be able to also drive home the point that they've also been making for some time now, which is to the increment, not just in the minimum wage of its workers to a certain amount, but to have a framework for which the minimum wage will be reflective of the inflationary tendencies of the nation, as it were. Because currently, you and I will agree that the current minimum wage that have been agreed upon, which is around 70,000 naira, even though it has gone up from 30,000 naira, but it is still far lower than 30,000 naira when you compare it with the standard of living of the workers of the country or the nation a few years ago. Because what we could buy with 1,000 naira 5 years ago, currently it will cost us as much as 5,000 to 10,000 naira. Currently, we might have an inflation index for calculating our inflations, in the Bureau of Statistics. But in the real sense of the word, inflation has gone up by, if you ask me, by over 1,000% within the last 5 years. Look at the petroleum subsidy that was introduced recently and removed recently. As early as less than 2 years ago, petroleum subsidy was removed. And before it was removed, we were buying petrol for around 140, 50 naira per liter. But currently we buy it for as much as 1,000 naira, per liter, which is like 700% increase, 600 to 700% increase in petroleum, product. And it has a ripple effect on all other sectors of our economy.
All right.
But what did the government do?
Yeah.
They only increased minimum wage by just about 120%. If you look at it, if there's a strong framework for, implementing minimum wage, as it were, you will see that it was supposed to have been increased by up to 1,000% of what it is today.
Okay.
And 1,000%.
All right. So yes. Yeah, so that we don't stay so much. Yeah, so that we don't stay so much on a particular question now. Derek Wango, what we are trying to do is to look at whether we can actually draw the limits. I mean, where governments, where politics should begin to meddle with labor unionism in Nigeria, because we understand that the labor movement has always been a union trying to gag, put in control the activities of governments, fight for labor union members, workers' rights and all that. Hence, you talked about the 70% minimum wage and all that. But what we want to say is that at what point that politics should stop, that, hey, let's stop here. Unionism is purely unionism. Like a situation at hand now in Edo State where we have allegations of how certain persons are coming as impostor and all that and all that. Now, government's allegations are that government begins to show interest in the leadership of labor movements in states in the country.
Yes, I will continue to say that unionism and politics should not be divided. They should take ownership of governments, as it were. The labor union have the power, to own the government. Are you aware that the labor union comprises of both the private sector and the public sector workers all over Nigeria, which make up as high as 50% of the population? So if we have up to 40, 50% of the population participating in a particular industry or sector, like the labor union, and we are also aware that it is only about 70 to 75% of the population that are eligible to either vote or be voted for in our political system or landscape. And up to 50% of these people are members of the labor union. What are you saying that labor union and politics? There should not be the drawing of any cutting. Instead, like I said, they should leverage on their strengths and own the system. They should own the system. The labor union should think outside the box. They should look at the issue from an holistic perspective so that they can continue to create quantum of composite value in the labor industry. You know, if the labor union body is strong enough, they are supposed to be the ones to influence every decision of government concerning the economic sector of a nation. Other nations are already doing it. Look at UK, UK, look at some other European nations. It is the labor union that are in charge of, mostly in charge of governance in their country. So if the body knows that the policies and influence of government is not so beneficial to them, then they should make a move towards owning the system. If they speak one voice, don't you think if the labor union truly speak one voice, are they not supposed to be the ones to, elect people into position of authority in Nigeria today? So we
Yeah.
cannot separate. We cannot
Exactly.
separate.
Exactly. That's what we're saying. But what seems to be happening now in recently is a situation whereby the government of the day begins to have interest who becomes the leadership of labor movement. They also even want to put their persons there. That's what we're saying.
Well, if you say government want to put their persons there, then that shows weakness in the part of the labor union body of the state or any state of the country. I will continue to say, if you leverage on your strength, nobody will be able to trample you underfoot.
Now, when you talk about the strength now, what kind of strength exactly are you talking about? Let's look at it. What strength should the labor leverage on?
Number one, the labor union has the largest number of membership of any union or association or body in any country of the world. That alone is one of their strongest points for other negotiation, in any dialogue. And you and I also, I'm sure you also know that there are 3 C's in negotiation, which is consultation. You consult with government or any other body. Once you consult, then the next step is to consolidate on the consultation that you have made as a body. And if you are not able to consolidate on your consultation, then the next step should be confrontation. But nobody actually, wants confrontation. And the confrontation we are talking about is not the type that, literally speaking, but rather confrontation by way of proactive vision, by implementing strategic moves towards honing, like I said, honing the government. Because if you are a owner of a property, you cannot be telling me that your tenant, it's not possible for your tenant, to deny you access or ownership to your own property, except there is a lacuna, a problem, within the framework for which your ownership stands. So like I said, it is not supposed to be as it is today, that government influence is now overriding, the labor union, because they have all it takes to, as much as using the confrontational instrument, to even shut down government. Are you aware of that? I'm sure you are aware of that. So, like I said, labor union have what it takes to put
Now,
their house in,
uh,
to prevent anybody from trampling them underfoot.
okay, now the labor movements in Nigeria, would you want to say that they are actually together? The reason why I'm asking this question is we had a presidential election whereby a presidential candidate under the Labour Party came up, and after the election, he couldn't win, despite the strength of Labour in Nigeria. I mean, ordinarily, one would have thought that all members of you know, Labour Party, as all members of Labour Unionism with all the affiliates bodies and all that, should have voted for their own, I don't want to use the word their own candidate now, because Labour Party, Labour Unionism is not a political party, but one would have expected that at least somehow they would have given it to their struggle as it stands. I mean, a political party that tends to believe in a labor struggle in the country, but that wasn't the case. So is labor movement in Nigeria really together?
To the best of my knowledge, the labor union, TUC, and other bodies, they are mostly together. I've attended some of their forums, seminars. They are mostly together, and they are to some extent quite strong. They are doing well. And this individual, the president of TUC in particular, is doing very well. They are doing well. The only challenge we have in this nation is that the Nigerian political elites have gone a step further in terms of electioneering and elections, to the extent that does vote actually count? Does vote still count in our electoral system? And so that is a topic for another day. We don't want to go into that now. So the elites, becomes appears to be stronger or much stronger than institutions, of our nation. And like I say, if our institutions stand strong and they are manned by quality leadership, they should resist and fight every tendency of personal interest as it is today in this country. Personal interest appears to be overshadowing the general interest of the nation. Because if people appears to be stronger than the system, then there's a problem. And the challenge of Nigeria electoral system is that individuals have become stronger than institutions. And that is the challenge we have. And elections are not as it's supposed to be. Elections, like I said, in this country have gone a step ahead. I will not be surprised if the result of the 2027 election have already been written somewhere, and it's being perfected as the election draws closer. So it has become as bad, as that.
You know,
And
a while ago, we were trying to ask the question whether labor movements in Nigeria actually believes in their struggle. I mean, we've had, once upon a time in Edo State, a foremost labor unionist became the governor of Edo State. And allegations, instances of allegations that he actually did not do the bid of labor unionism. Now, what do you think is going on? I mean, one-time labor unionist become a politician, and of course, he forgets his background, so to say. What is going on?
well, everything still borders on if the if the structure of the labor union, because whether we like it or not, in the struggle for freedom, we must persevere. During the last election, there were clamor from different sectors of the society for there to be a peaceful protest to showcase the electorate's displeasure of the last electoral system after the presidential election and the National Assembly election. But the candidate of a certain political party said no, there should be no protest, which portrays to weakness on his part. Any strong leader must know when to move to the third C, which is confrontation. If he chooses starts to get out of hand, then confrontation becomes a tool to use to checkmate the excesses of those who wants to do things outside the regular framework of a system. So if individuals decide to do things outside the framework of a system, and there's a strong resistance coming from labor union, as it were, and they see that the outcome is not favorable, you know, then that becomes a precedent to people in the future to make reference to that on so and so date, the labor union body, they down tools, they shut down the economy for a period of time to protest or agitate against a certain ills in our society or the system. But a system or a situation where the labor union decide to fold their hands and look, and things continue to decay, people continue to have their way against the interests and the voices of the generality of the people of the nation, then they will see that there is incentive to become a deviant. If an individual become a deviant tendency in our system or society and he gets away with it, then it becomes viable to become a deviant. You know, so but if the institutions like the labor union body checkmates, you know, any deviant tendencies by any individual, you know, then that becomes a framework, an instance to make reference to that people will be discouraged to go out of the regular framework of doing things to do things under with their whims and caprices. They'll be discouraged, you know, to go that route. So, like I will continue to say, if you have a strength membership of close to 50% of a people of a society, you should know what to do with quality leadership. You
Okay.
should know how to mobilize your people towards confronting your challenges, as it were. And I will also tell you that a good servant leader will not have to, you know, come out to complain. Instead, his members will naturally rally around him, he or she, you know, and continue to bring out suggestions or even going out of their way to fight for his or interest, because they know that in fighting for their leaders' interest, it also means that they are fighting for the general interest and well-being of the people of that body. And the union, the labor union today, although I'm not saying they are not trying, they are trying. They are being confronted by years of decay in our social, economic, and political system.
Okay. All right.
So
So,
that means
yeah, perhaps you may want to say that one of the greatest challenges for labor movements in Nigeria is the seeming inability for them to come together. I said that a while ago. Now, a situation whereby you see
no,
certain
sorry, not to come
affiliates,
together. They have been coming together,
but,
but to
but
leverage their strengths, to
yeah,
leverage their strengths towards achieving their goal.
yeah, it's still the same
And
thing.
that we
It's still
have
the
to
same
do
thing
with
where
quality leadership.
it's still the same thing we're talking, we're saying. I mean, you come together, but your inability to leverage your strength to achieve your goals are still very much lacking. So, where is it coming together? Now, the reason why I'm saying this is a situation whereby we see affiliate bodies. Take, for example, during strike, you see affiliate bodies, before you know it, they begin to pull out and all that. That doesn't show unison in their movements, in their struggle and all that. So if we continue to have this kind of issue, it appears that the labor movement in Nigeria may not even get to El I mean, by my count, since the founding of labor movements in Nigeria, labor unionism is about 48 years. I mean, the highest that they've had is 70,000 naira, as a minimum wage. And that's still very a long far cry from the reality, the economic reality of Nigeria today. So what do you think the labor organization should begin to think of now so that they can actually be together, get affiliates bodies together when it comes to decision making, when it comes to making, having a voice? Everybody comes together on the drawing table and they achieve a particular aim.
Well, the first thing they should do towards bridging the gap is to, first of all, create or try to encourage a tripartite dialogue body or a multi-party dialogue body that will, they will have to start it, since the government may not be willing to start it. They will start it and make a recommendation that it becomes part of the policy documents or framework for which government is operating with the labor union. A tripartite body consists of the labor union, the government, and the public and private sector employers. That is the tripartite body. But a multi-party dialogue body is the inclusion of these three bodies I just mentioned with the civil society group and the academic body. If these five bodies comes together, they should be able to organize a policy document, which will translate to a law reform.
Okay. All right. So we'll pause you there. We'll pause you there, Derek Uhuango, because of time. I want to say a very big thank you because Abuja is waiting. And by my accounts, we have various affiliate bodies of the NSC in Nigeria, more than 50 of them, coming together to be under the umbrella of Nigeria Labour Congress. So we are still saying congratulations to all labor devotees, all workers in Nigeria as they celebrate tomorrow. So Derek Uhuango, I want to say very, very thank you.